Welcome back, mutants. Streebo here with you from mutantville.com. It's time for another daily vlog from the land of Streebo-rama. Today I've decided to bring back another Reaper rant from my good buddy JD Reaper, who sent me another rant, this time in different genre, the superhero genre, specifically talking about Iron Man 3. And if you are a diehard Iron Man fan or a longtime comic book fan, I'm sure you've been ranting about it too. And I think JD and I agree on a lot of the things that this movie did wrong. If you have not seen Iron Man 3, you should probably avoid this. It's going to be full-on spoilers once we get going. I'm going to read the Reaper's rant and respond to it as I see fit. And we'll have a little discussion, one-on-one back and forth about Iron Man 3 in theaters now. The #1 movie last weekend. It's making a shit ton of money both in the States and across the world. So it's going to be a huge hit. Does it deserve it? I don't know. Let's ask that question again at the end. Here we go. Reaper's rant. There's so much they did wrong with this film. Sure, there were some great parts, but there were a lot of things they messed up, and they seriously could have used a much better writer. No AC/DC for the first time in Iron Man on film history, so that's odd and kind of sucky. When he asked Jarvis to hit his jam, that would have been a perfect time, but instead we get a Christmas song. Now that's funny. Speaking of the music, I actually kind of felt right from the beginning when they opened with that fucking Abu Di Abu Da blues song. I knew we were in the music shitter. I knew there was going to be a dearth of quality music in the film. We were not going to hear Iron Man. It was going to be shit pop music through the whole thing, and I'm pretty sure that's what we got. The majority of the movie is spent showing Tony not in the suit or the suit doing something, only to find out Tony wasn't even in it. Yes. That, to me, cheapens the suit when he's not in it, and focusing on him is fine, and yeah, show us that Tony is more than just the suit, but only so much, because we came to see Iron Man 3, not Tony Stark 3. So far, I'm with you. If anybody listened to my thoughts on Iron Man 3 in the 51st episode of MVP Mutant Radio, which you can probably find by hitting those links down there that say they go to Libsyn, I said the same thing. It was less Iron Man, more Tony Stark. It was more the adventures of Tony Stark, which is fine if you're fucking James Bond or Sherlock Holmes or whatever. I paid to see an Iron Man movie. I want to see some fucking Iron Man action. It was really bottom heavy in that way. And by the end, well, I don't want to get into that already. Let me finish Reaper's rant before I take off on my own. Okay. Some of the times he actually was in the suit, and the suit would be easily destroyed, or it would be a malfunctioning prototype. War Machine was turned into Iron Patriot and didn't even get to do much of anything cool as far as a battle or etc. in the film. It's true, he didn't do anything in his suit. He just ran around with his gun at the end. Mandarin, one of Iron Man's biggest foes of all time in the comics and animated shows, not only isn't the main villain of the film, but is made into a slap to the fan's face mockery/joke. That really bothered me. It bothered me too. They mentioned the 10 rings. Mandarin wears 10 magical rings. The 10 Rings terrorist group in the first couple movies. A good chance to sneakily lead into him being in Part 3. Everything I see or hear about Part 3 leads me to believe that there will be a huge battle between Mandarin, Tony, Iron Patriot, a bunch of drone suits, etc. And me knowing Mandarin is a badass martial artist, his powers, etc., this could be so awesome. But it's a joke instead, and a bad one. Almost like a twist from an Ace Ventura movie. And I pretty much agree with you. That really pissed me off. I was really looking forward to seeing Mandarin in the movie, and instead we got Emo Villain, played by Guy Pearce. Emo Villain, who we've seen over and over. For the YouTube fans that are not up on this particular pet peeve of mine, but Emo Villain is the guy that shows up and ruins all the superhero movies that could have been better than they were. And why were they not so good? Because Emo Villain was in the end. Blade won. Ghost Rider. Go down the list. There's plenty of them out there. Iron Man 3. Now you know what I'm talking about. He's just this goofy goth dude in a suit at the end. That's not what we want. It's supposed to be a superhero movie. They need to have powers. They need to have suits. They need to have crazy rings. Superheroes, not a fucking James Bond movie. That's what the Bond movies are for. Let's not turn Tony Stark into Bond, okay? He's only Bond in the suit. He can't be out of the suit. Okay, losing my place on Reaper's rant here, falling into my own, and I'm cutting them short. You can believe that, because Iron Man was one of my favorite comics growing up, and it was actually one I, for a long time, wanted to write and draw. Okay, back to the Reaper's rant. Also, I know Tony is always cocky, arrogant, pervy, egotistical, a bit of a jerk, etc., but in this movie, I felt like they really took his character too far at times with being a bit too much of a perv or a jerk to other characters. Tony tells a terrorist his home address, yeah, that was fucking moronic, and calls him out to the place where the woman he loves and all of his tech is. Not the smartest idea for a genius. That was pretty dumb. Especially after he made a point of saying, I just want to protect what's important. You're important to me. 5 minutes later, yeah, come find me at my house where my important girlfriend stays with me. Okay, yeah, really smart. Also, it bothers me that after all of this, he can, just like that, take the arc reactor out of his chest after 2 movies. Very true. It bothers me he blew up those suits, which are supposed to cost like $20 million each, for some fireworks to make Pepper happy and to stop being Iron Man for her, especially after he spent a lot of the movie worrying about if aliens are invading again. It bothers me that he basically wrapped up the trilogy with not only the worst film, but with him giving up Iron Man somewhat for now, because now Joss Whedon is doing the Avengers 2, and will not just have to write Iron Man into joining up with them again, but Tony making new suits and all this and that. Between now and then, he'll have more suits. They probably won't spend much time on that at all. Honestly, a lot of things bothered me so much, but the main thing was the disgusting portrayal of the Mandarin in the film. I agree completely. The huge villain made into a joke. A big shit sandwich for every single comic book fan that lined up for that movie. What if they did that with Lex Luthor, Joker, Red Skull, etc.? You just don't have to do that. Like Wolverine, I'll own it. I'll appreciate a few things that are good about it, but I was incredibly disappointed with what they did to it all. It really bothered me. I looked forward to it all so much and loved the first 2 Iron Man movies and the Avengers, and this could have been so much more. Very true, Joe. He sent me a follow-up. I appreciate you discussing my rant. I never quite meant for it to be so long, but I haven't had as much to say about a couple movies in a while as I've had to say about Texas Chainsaw 3D and Iron Man 3D. It's the curse of the threes this year. I think it's easier to end up with a long rant to point out everything that a movie did wrong than it is to point out everything one did right. So, no problem. Thank you for sending it to me, giving me fodder for these videos, fodder for the MVP Mind Meld mailbag over on MVP Mutant Radio, available at mutantville.com, of course, because it gives me something to talk about. It actually makes it easier for me to read somebody else's rant than to go on a huge rant of my own, because I like to rant, but also I'm very philosophical when it comes to various interpretations, but I felt like those superhero movies adapted from known intellectual properties. The Mandarin has been around for a long time, even on the cartoon, okay, that when you sell me a bill of goods that has the Mandarin on it, I expect to see the Mandarin in it. If they wanted to do this swerve and have this subtext and this political allegory about the world we live in, then create another character, in the Al-Qaeda vein. He could be, the Sheik of Death, whatever you want to call him. It doesn't matter. And you could have had the same story. I probably would have forgiven it for a whole lot of the other faults if it hadn't had that deliberate there's no other way to think about it, but it's a deliberate shit sandwich to you if you are a Iron Man fan. And people that are taking it and rolling over like a bitch, like Kevin Smith and so many other people, it's the best Iron Man movie ever. It's not, guys. It's not. It's not. He's not even Iron Man at the end of it. He has to be saved by his girlfriend. Are you kidding me? He's got post-traumatic stress disorder. I mean, really? Seriously? He didn't have that in the other movies? I mean, the guy should be seasoned by now. It's just ridiculous. I just don't buy it. Just don't buy it. So, pretty much all the major premises of Iron Man 3 I did not agree with. And anytime you go into a movie like that, you are going to have problems. I had some major problems with Iron Man 3. So, the third, probably third, fourth, fifth biggest problem I have with it is the fact that it's really well made. Fantastic performances from the entire cast. The special effects are seamless. I mean, they're the best Iron Man effects in the entire series, counting the Avengers movie. I mean, I couldn't tell what was real and what was a suit, what was a guy walking around, and what was computer. I mean, they pretty much all looked the same, and it was spectacular. But Iron Man got lost in the shuffle. And then even though at the end they bring back all these suits, there's no weight to anything that's happening with any of them. You know, you just see the suits get smashed to pieces and thrown this way and that, and then another one comes up. So, you know, anything that's going to happen there is going to have absolutely no consequence whatsoever. And one of the single redeeming feature of Tony Stark in the series, in the comic book series, was he could always use his intelligence to win out at the end of the day. When no matter how powerful the Iron Man suit was, it always took him figuring things out to find a way to win. It wasn't just a matter of pushing a button and blowing something up. And here at the end of the movie, he doesn't save the day. His girlfriend saves the day. Seriously? Was this fucking Iron Pepper Potts movie? No, it's not. It's Iron Man. Iron Man. It's in the marquee. You still had him say, I am Iron Man at the end of the movie, but they would have been truer to their own story if they'd had Pepper Potts driving away at the end saying, I am Iron Man. So that's pretty much what we get. Fellow comic book fans, I hope you're enjoying that shit sandwich. Those of you that saying you love this movie because you got fucking duped, and I did too. It pisses me off. It could have easily been the Death Cheek, whatever. They could have told the same story. Don't sell me a fake adaptation of a character I want to see. Because it's wrong. It's wrong. They owe me a refund, honestly. I wouldn't have gone to see it opening weekend. I would not have gone to see it. The Mandarin is what really drove me out. So, I don't know. What can you do? I think I also said in my review on MVP Mutant Radio, the latest episode, by the way, he was mischaracterized because the earlier movies are more fun. There's an element of fun in this. It's so weird because all the pieces are there. It's like if you want to see Iron Man suit action, it is there. There are suits there. If you want to see him building stuff, he's building stuff. And, and has the big Iron Man suit battle at the end. But it just felt hollow. The relationship between Pepper Potts and Tony Stark felt hollow. I mean, they were separated through the majority of the movie. And Killian's plan to turn her into one of these dragon people. Why? I don't understand it. It's because he wanted her to blow up or what? But no, she becomes a superwoman. I don't know. It was just too much. It's too much for me. Perhaps, I'm falling into the same pit fanboys do everywhere, but I am willing to let an adaptation be its own movie. But when the character is compromised, you have to call bullshit on it. When we're promised something and it's not delivered, you have the right to call bullshit. So, Shane Black, bullshit on you, sir. You're the writer director. You take the fucking blame. But you don't care right now. You're getting paid this week because a shit ton of people went to see that movie. And they still will, and it'll be all across the world. Nobody's going to care except for the comic book fans that were intentionally shit upon or shat upon, as the case may be. But I compared kind of the dark tone and the way that everything is falling apart in Iron Man 3 to Dark Knight Rising, and the way everything is systematically destroyed and falls apart for Batman throughout that. I think there are definite similarities there, and I think the producers were wanting Dark Knight numbers and thinking that if they made something, quote, darker and edgier, that they could perhaps get closer to those Dark Knight numbers, and they might be right. Who knows? Because we've seen all this stuff happen over and over, in the comic book realm, ever since 1987, everybody's been trying to remake the Watchmen or trying to remake Batman Year One or The Dark Knight Returns or whatever. And they're every time they do that, they lose the real themes underneath it all. So, not happy with Iron Man 3. I did rate it a 6 out of 10 or 3 out of 5 stars. I mean, it's still just a spectacularly made movie. It's full of spectacle, but it's also just full of so much bullshit for the fans. Too close to James Bond rather than Iron Man, and that really disappointed me. But what can you do? What can you do, guys? Alright, if you enjoyed these rants, both from the Reaper and myself, visit us over at mutantville.com. Well, visit me at mutantville.com, or the Mutantville players and me, as we bring you our weekly adventures, talk about our movies, talk about what we see, talk about what we're making, talk about where we've come from and where it's all going. We do it every day. This is Streebo, mutantville.com. Find me there. See you next time, guys.